Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I wanted to address some things about the current state of Marvel and Sony. There is, in my mind, some light at the end of the tunnel. There is also, of course, some things that are troubling, at least to me, and maybe to you. So let's start with the troubling. Madam Web is a historic flop. And yes, I am one of the YouTubers that said we should give it a chance when the first trailer dropped back in 2023, and as optimistic as I wanted to be, I had the rug pulled out from under me just like the rest of you. It was awful. It was an example of just how far Hollywood has fallen since the heights of Infinity War and Endgame. It is a movie that should get people fired, and it seems that it already has. The entire Silk Spider writing team was let go so the studio can make a more audience-friendly film that will hopefully turn a profit. But I think it's too late for Sony. And I have to agree with this crushingly honest article from The Hollywood Reporter that Madam Web was so bad, such a failure, that it may have killed Sony's Spider-Verse for good. And no, I do not think the upcoming Kraven film will be able to pull it out of its tailspin. Madam Web was so bad that women, the audience it was made for, did not show up for the film. In actuality, more men showed up, and there were not many of us to begin with. Theater owners were actually telling Sony that they could see in real time on their ticketing sites how Madam Web was actually losing ticket sales. Word of mouth and negative reviews had audience members getting refunds and returns on their purchases even before seeing the film. I have never heard of that before, which makes this film one of the worst performing movies in the history of cinema. As of right now, Madam Web has only made about $56 million worldwide on a $100 million budget, which means it needs at least $300 million to break even. And I doubt that Sony will keep it in theaters for very much longer, which means this film will lose Sony about $250 million. Ouch! It was so bad, some industry insiders believe you won't see the character of Madam Web on screen for at least another decade or so. But that's Sony. What about Marvel? And how are they doing? Well, without getting into the X-Men 97 trailer, because the video I posted about that seems to have triggered a hell of a lot of you, and by the way, it was some of the most fun I've ever had in the comment section on my channel in a long time, so thanks for that. Not getting into X-Men 97, the other big news was the reveal of the cast of the Fantastic Four. First up, Pedro Pascal. I think he can act. I think he is capable of doing a great Reed Richards, and I think he is someone that will take the role seriously. Unfortunately, for me, he's also someone who is very divisive, and that really turns me off. He labeled half the country Nazis in a now deleted tweet because he did not agree with their political ideology. And there is my problem. When you start labeling people or groups as Nazis, one of the most evil and vile things to ever exist in the history of mankind, you're also advocating violence against those same people. Because if something is truly evil, then it is morally just to eradicate it. Now, Pedro Pascal is from Chile, a country where human rights is a very troubling issue. He grew up in a society where thousands of people were slaughtered or disappeared because they had a different political ideology than the current power structure that was in place. Even to this day, there are countless violations occurring in Chile every month. So I would think Pedro Pascal would have known better or been more sensitive to that propaganda he was spreading about ordinary, average citizens of the United States, and that he would have a better understanding that the country he now calls home values political diversity. But unfortunately, I was wrong. So my issue is this. Despite thinking the upcoming Fantastic Four film could be great and wildly entertaining, because hey, they also cast Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, and she is an incredible actress. And if the film is centered around her character, it could rival some of the great character portrayals of the MCU. And I'm talking Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man or Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. But despite all that, and despite my optimism about that, do I want to support a project that puts at the forefront someone who's actively looking to create political violence? Now, I may seem overdramatic in that question, but it is a real question. And it is a question I will wrestle with until the film comes out. Also being reported is that Agatha Harkness, The Darkhold Diaries, only needed 1 day of reshoots, so will be ready in the fall. Now, I am looking forward to this series. I've always been a fan of the mysticism and magic Marvel utilizes in their comic storylines, but it seems that this series is already getting a lot of hate, especially online. Look, I'm going to be the optimist here and say a series about dark magic, witches, and spells coming out around Halloween, my favorite time of year, it can be a hit. I liked the Wander and Vision series. Again, it got a lot of backlash from some fans, but I thought that it is one of the best series produced for D+ when you look at them as a whole. It was original and tried to do something different, and despite what you may think, I liked it. So Agatha has a hill to climb right now with the fan base. But again, I remain optimistic about this series. Now, there are a lot of positives to talk about with Marvel. It seems they have retooled, their word, not mine, the upcoming storylines for Phase 5 and 6. Deadpool is, of course, the lead horse here. And let's not kid ourselves. This movie is going to make a ton of money, and it should. But what about after this film? Yes, it looks like Kang is gone. Marvel used Loki Season 2 to wrap all that up and make it go away. Not only did the poor reception of Ant-Man 3 ruin Jonathan Majors' chance of being the next Thanos, but his guilty verdict was a final nail in the coffin of his career. Enter Doctor Doom. Easter eggs aplenty from Wakanda Forever and the Deadpool trailer all but assure us that Secret Wars with Doctor Doom is coming. And that's another good sign the MCU is righting the ship. But last but not least, Black Panther 3 is getting a lot of pre-production buzz right now. As well it should. Wakanda Forever, while not as well received as the original Black Panther, still did great at the box office. So a third film was inevitable. However, it is Ryan Coogler, writer and director in the series, who gives us some hope for a great end to the trilogy. In a recent interview, he talked about story arcs for Shuri and T'Challa's son, and for me, he was extremely impressive in how he viewed these arcs, leaning heavily on Old Testament themes of the prodigal son returning home, the boy king that would save his society. I think the more and more you listen to Ryan speak, the more you appreciate how immersed he is in the world of Black Panther and the source material. And from what we know so far, I think you will see Shuri become like a mentor, a Yoda figure, if you will, to T'Challa's son as he takes over the mantle of Black Panther, which could make for a great subplot. Either way, Coogler knows what he's doing, and this third film has the potential for Doctor Doom to be introduced formally into the MCU and really re-establish the remaining phases of the MCU as a whole. So yes, there may be a couple of bumps on the road right now, but it seems like Marvel is starting to dig itself out of that hole it put itself in over the last 3 to 4 years. So with that, I think we can look forward to some great storylines, some great story arcs, and hopefully some great films. And let me know what you think about possible plot points for Black Panther 3 or your own personal thoughts on where you think this story goes from here, as well as anything else I discussed in this video in the comment section below. And click on the thumbnails for my Madam Web review and for my take on the X-Men 97 trailer. And with that, thank you for watching, and from south of the border, I'm still your reluctant gringo. Salud and a huevo.